Obviously, healthcare front and centre in this pandemic year. But beyond the impact of COVID-19, beyond the vaccine race that we talk about almost on a daily basis, what are the kinds of, I guess, healthcare moonshots that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, I think COVID-19 and the pandemic has ushered in a completely new era, not only in every industry, but in healthcare specifically, because I think it really demonstrated how unprepared globally everybody was, not only to deal with the pandemic, but to deal with all the inequities and other things that are affecting people all around the world. So over the last 10 or 15 years, there's been a lot of innovation, but there's been a lack of adoption of that innovation in hospitals and governments and companies all around the world. The pandemic, I think, has moved it from a nice to have to a need to have. And we've really seen a wholesale shift of adoption of a lot of the technologies that have been developed over the last several years. And so we're passionate about really supporting and investing in the entrepreneurs who are building the companies to solve some of the biggest health challenges of our time.
So essentially, are we seeing the same trends in healthcare technology that we're seeing across broader tech, which is basically, yes, the pandemic has accelerated a lot of the trends that have started to happen anyway, but that the changes when it comes to digitization, when it comes to consumer habits, will be permanent even after the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a new historical context needed. There's a talk about BC and AC, before COVID and after COVID. And regardless of what kind of company you're building in healthcare, if you don't have an after COVID plan for how your technology, your solution, your product or service can help in this new COVID environment, then you're kind of irrelevant. So this after COVID plan, this after COVID world requires a different type of agility, a different type of ability to adapt. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, the opportunity is how do you scale and bring your solutions to market? There's been a lot of regulatory and a lot of other mindset limitations in healthcare. I think the pandemic has opened up across the board a whole new opportunity set by regulatory environments changing, sales cycles changing, and everything really about the adoption pace changing.
Has it opened up wallets as well? How readily available is funding here?
Yeah, well, actually, 2020 is already surpassed previous years' funding. In digital health in particular, we're seeing and believing that 2020 is going to be by far the largest funding to date by venture capitalists, by private equity investors, and all kinds of family offices. It really backing the kinds of entrepreneurs and companies who are needed in this new world that we're living in. So I think from our perspective, this is the opportunity to lean in like we are and invest in entrepreneurs all around the world who are collaborating and committed long-term to achieving health moonshots, those seemingly impossible goals like bringing access to care to everyone in the world, ending cancers like the gynecological cancers being talked about at today's conference.
Just shortly, what sort of criteria, a list of priorities do you have when you're looking at these companies?
Mindset matters most. It really is about the mindset of the entrepreneurs and the innovators, the mindset of the investors and the partners that these entrepreneurs are putting together as they're building their companies, and the long-term commitment that the entrepreneur needs to maintain that mindset and have an ambitious goal to really move the dial and not stray away from really long-term thinking about how to really make long-term sustainable continuity of purpose goals.